convention, finding him mathematically eliminated in the delegate race. Do you agree with that, Halpin?
It was true before. I mean, he hasn't had a mathematical pass in a long time.
Okay, so Cruz needs to win 98% of the remaining delegates to get the 1237 necessary votes. John Kasich would need 158%, so he's mathematically out as well, and needs only 57, and Trump needs only 57%. But his campaign says he's on track to reach 1,400 delegates by the Cleveland convention. Earlier this month, Ted Cruz said this about Kasich's campaign after he was mathematically eliminated of reaching the necessary delegates.
I think any candidate that doesn't have a path to winning, that's the time when you should suspend your campaign. And at this point, Kasich has been mathematically eliminated. He needs more than 100% of the delegates to be the nominee. That's obviously impossible. You can't get more than 100%.
Yesterday, Cruz offered a new rationalization, a little bit different now that he's in that situation, that no one is going to reach 1237.
What is clear today is that we are headed to a contested convention. I'm not going to reach 1237, and Donald Trump is not going to reach 1237. We're going to arrive in Cleveland with me having a ton of delegates and with Donald having a ton of delegates. And at that point, it is going to be a battle to see who can earn the support of the majority of the delegates elected by the people. The only condition in which I would leave the race is if it was clear there was no path to victory. At this point, we are headed on a path to victory.
The Kasich campaign tweeted yesterday, "What is clear today?" No, actually, it's now that Cruz is now mathematically eliminated. The only difference between him and Kasich is Kasich can defeat Clinton. All right, Mark Halperin, first of all, is the AP's math correct? I believe it is.
It's correct, but I mean, Cruz has had no practical path to a majority in quite some time. Now it's mathematical, but he's not going to get a majority. He's banking on a second or third ballot victory. And you can read analyses forever about whether Trump is on path to get a majority or not. He's more likely than not, but it's going to depend on performance in the remaining states. Cruz is banking on keeping Trump short and then somehow convincing the delegates to not vote for the guy who easily got the most votes and came in with the most delegates.
Mark, yesterday, Steve Schmidt was here. He's like Einstein when it comes to Republican politics internally, and he declared unequivocally here in this set yesterday morning that Donald Trump has or will have the 1237 needed to win a first ballot nomination. Agree or disagree, Mr. Halperin?
I agree that it's more likely than not, but I don't agree with Steve. I'm not as sure as Steve is. I mean, I keep running the numbers, and after New York, it's more likely. I think Trump will do very well in the Northeast, but it is not a sure thing. I don't agree with Steve that it's a sure thing.
So the only drama now is, does he get to 1237? Now it's officially, there's no drama. He's the only one who can get to 1237. He's going to have a big day on Tuesday coming up through those 5 states. Then it's how does he do in Indiana? How does he do in Nebraska? How does he do in those states? How many delegates can he win in California if he wins? And you're starting to see even little cracks in the armor at the Wall Street Journal this morning in their op-ed page. They're saying realistically, Mr. Trump will be hard to deny even if he through the remaining primaries, even if he's short of 1237. So even the Journal now, who's been pretty anti-Trump, suggesting that even if Trump gets close, he should get the nomination.
Here's how you know. Here's how I think you know Steve Schmidt isn't 100% right. You don't hear any Republicans, even the Journal editorial, saying the other guy should get out of the race. If Trump really had this locked up, you'd hear people say, look, let's make the best of it. Trump's going to be our nominee. Let's start supporting him. Let's start helping him position himself. You know, you don't hear that.
I'm hearing very, very careful sources saying that the RNC might start realizing that they have to work with Donald Trump and they have to help him beat Clinton. It's got to be confirmed and reconfirmed, but there appears to be some warming up between them. And you know what, Willie, because I don't think Mary Kissel wrote this. That's just my gut. I could be wrong, but just from sort of the feeling I got yesterday, it's just an instinct. You know, I go on gut. A lot I'm thinking she didn't write this, but this is the Wall Street Journal. Some of the Never Trump crowd are claiming that New York changed nothing in the race, but that is wishful thinking. The blowout victory erases the memory of Mr. Trump's defeat in Wisconsin 2 weeks ago and propels him into next week's contests. Mr. Trump is leading in the polls in all of those states. And without more concerted opposition, he'll sweep those too. We continue to believe the delegates in Cleveland should nominate the most electable candidate, but realistically, Mr. Trump will be hard to deny if he rolls through the remaining primaries, even if he is short of 1237. This is the Wall Street Journal. Mr. Cruz and Mr. Kasich are out-hustling the New Yorker in the fight for unbound delegates, but they also need to go into Cleveland with a credible claim on GOP voter support.
Richard Haass, that's the argument Donald Trump's been making for months now, that even if he doesn't get to 1237, if he's close, if he's won millions more votes, if he's won many hundreds more delegates, how do you pick one of those other guys over him?
It's a pretty good argument, and it might become a compelling argument if he has that much momentum. And if Ted Cruz said he has a ton of delegates, Donald Trump has a ton of delegates, but actually it's not equal. And Trump will have 2 tons of delegates compared to Cruz's 1 ton by the time the convention rolls around. So it will be very hard. And it's not the question of whether then Trump would create a third party. It's a question of whether you would have a candidate who can unite the party and have, I guess you'd call it the political legitimacy going into the fall election.
Hey, Richard, given your role and what you do for a living, and you come into fairly constant contact with people from all over the world, government officials, government leaders, what's their read on Donald Trump as a potential president of the United States?
Well, I think until recently they didn't take the possibility all that seriously. They were watching American politics with a degree of almost bemusement. And depending on where you are, though, they have real trouble with some of the specifics. In Asia, they have real trouble with his views on trade. In Latin America, with his views on Mexico and immigrants. I was just down in Argentina. Real concerns about that. Also in Brazil. In the Middle East, they have real concerns about his stated views about Muslims. So, it's the conversation you've had on this show now for weeks, which is whether Donald Trump will, quote-unquote, pivot. And he's talking about giving, for example, a foreign policy speech later this month. I think it's April 27th, the Wall Street Journal said. That will be then an important speech because people are going to be looking for signals whether the candidate who is trying to win the Republican nomination begins to pivot or evolve into a candidate as he goes into a general election and conceivably even to be president. So people are going to be looking for signs of policy seriousness, of some evolution. And that will, and then because people around the world now are going to see Trump in a far different light. They're going to see a potential, not just candidate, but conceivably a president. So he's now going to be measured by a different yardstick. Trump